Let's say the external environment becomes so toxic. What happens to the people in that organization? Right? Their performance goes down. They start to check out. They don't have the resistance. They get sick, all these things. What happens if your internal environment is toxic? The cells shut down. So they've shown that cells have two configurations. One configuration when they're going after nutrients, think about eating and growing, and another configuration when they're in protective mode. So when there's threats around them, the cell goes into protective mode. Why? So it can live to eat another day. What's interesting is it can't go after nutrients when it's in protective mode. So now that's why you can see that shutting down creates more and more and more problems. So if you're in a toxic environment and your body, that's your external environment, you respond and become a different kind of a person, and that creates toxicity inside. Now your cells are shutting down and you're not getting the nutrients you need, and that creates more stress. And now your brain is starting to leach from other organs to make sure it gets what it needs. And you can see why people say that you can create your own illnesses. And that's a way of looking at it. And again, you could research this, Google it, come up with your own version. But what I'm telling you is backed up by research, by peer-reviewed research. And that's what I look for. I look at peer-reviewed research, used research to make your decision with the references. That's why I started with this conversation, that if I'm going to change somebody's behaviors, it's not about me changing their values and behaviors. That's not what I want to do. I want to present them with the references and enable them to have leadership and agency. And then they decide based on the references what they want their beliefs, values, and attitudes to be. And that's what designing your life comes down to. So I talked about last week that we should come up with a belief that's kind of minor, and one that's been holding you back, the ones that's been getting in your way, and we're going to do something with it. Because we started talking about the power of words, but look where belief is. Belief is way over here on the continuum, or on the path, and it's impacting condition, and it's your conditioning. So if we come way back to the beginning and we're talking about belief way over here, you can see why I'm starting with belief. So this exercise is to help you look at belief in the context of references. So for example, I can tell you that I can change my heart rate. I was having surgery, and because of my background in martial arts and all, I used to play this game with myself whenever I was hooked up to one of these machines, and I would change my heart rate. So if I tell you that I can change my heart rate up and down, you may or may not believe that. But then if I can show you references of why it's possible, or better yet, if I ask you, what references do you have that tell you it's not true? And you don't have any references. See, by talking about the references, we can then change a belief. And this is why once you do this work, awareness alone can be enough to make the shift, because you're now doing it with agency. I'm going to come back to the heart rate because it's an important point. Imagine that you have this belief, and I want you to frame it up. I want you to put it into a statement that it's something that when I do this, this happens, or when I want to do this, or I take steps to do that, something happens, or I'm prevented from doing it, or there's something external that happens. Whatever that belief is, I just want you to have that kind of a statement. And you don't know where it's coming from. You've asked yourself multiple times, why do I do this? I don't know why I do this. Why does this always happen to me? That kind of a belief, but nothing major, nothing existential, just something minor. So now you have that sentence in your mind, or make a note of it. I want you to imagine that you're walking into a movie theater. And as you walk into the movie theater, you notice that the screen is on your right. There's a projection booth up there on the left, but nobody's in the theater. So you don't know what this is about. So you go and sit in the center of the movie theater, right in the center, and you're looking at the screen, and the screen is blank. And then you get an instruction that says to float out of yourself, leave yourself there in the center of the movie theater, and float out of yourself and float up into the projection booth and wait for instructions. So now you go up to the projection booth and you're watching yourself watch the screen. Watching yourself watch the screen. And then you get the instruction to turn on the projector.